How do you write after a long day of work? This is probably, other than finding time to write, one of the biggest challenges that writers struggle with. So I'm going to share with you some tips on what you can do in order to help you to be creative and excited to sit down and write after you've had a long day of work. So the first thing you can do is to daydream about your story on the drive home, because what that does, and this is more specific if when you get home you're able to write, because the daydreaming really gets the creative juices going, it gets you excited, it gets you thinking about your story and what you want to write about, instead of thinking about, oh, I've just had all these things happen in the day, I have all these things I got to do when I get home. So daydreaming really puts you in a higher level of excitement about your writing. So the second thing that you can do is to meditate, take deep breaths to clear away the fog and the funk of the day that you've had, and basically just setting yourself up for a successful writing time. Because sometimes we need that change in the when we're transitioning from one part of our day to the next. We need to sort of clear the air, and meditating and taking deep breaths is a really good way to do that. And don't just do it for the sake of doing it, do it with intention so that you can actually feel when you've shifted and feel when you've cleared away the funk of the day. All right? The next thing that you can do is to de-stress from the day on the drive home. And one of the things that I love to do is to listen to music. Music that I love, music that is, fun and funky and has me dancing in the car, because that really helps me to leave the stress of the day behind and enjoy the car ride home, and just puts me in a much better mood and much more open to being able to be excited to write when I get home. Okay? So the next thing you can do is to choose a time that fits your schedule. Sometimes it's easy to just say, well, I want to write that day, but we haven't really been intentional about it. We haven't committed to it. And how you can do that is to decide whether that works for you before your chores, after your chores, after everything of the night is done. And what you can do is to choose a time that fits your schedule. And what this looks like is choosing maybe to write before you do your chores, because after you do your chores, you just have no energy left, right? And then writing might put you in a better mood so that you're able to do your chores, or perhaps that doesn't fit your schedule and you have to maybe do it after you've done your chores, after you've done, put the kids to bed and all those things, and that works better for you. So you really have to be intentional about choosing when you're going to write, because it's almost like not just saying randomly, I want to write every day, or I want to write when I get home, but really being intentional to it and committing to it, and also being practical so that it actually works for your life and what you've got going on. And now you may be thinking, well, boy, by the time I put the kids to bed or I do everything that I have to do, I'm just so exhausted. And I'm going to share one tip on how you can do that. I talk a little bit more about it in another video about how to actually write. I talk about it in another video. And one tip that you can do is actually to think about, while, as your day is sort of winding down, you're doing your last thing, you're gonna wrap up in about 10-15 minutes, is to start thinking about your story. Start getting excited about, it's my time to write, it's my time to sit down, I'm gonna write this about the story, I'm gonna tell this about the characters, because what that does is that builds that excitement so that you push away that tiredness and that sort of at the end of the day, right, after you've finished everything, and that urge to sit down and watch TV instead of write. And doing that actually really makes a huge difference, is to start daydreaming about your stories and your characters and what you're going to write when it's time to write. So I hope you found these tips helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.